And starting out quick today, we'll swap out the belt for a finer grit and then get right to sanding the blade before we heat treat it. And right here we have what is a failed riveting block. I couldn't drill the hole straight, but it's 2 blocks of steel with pins through them, so I just sanded the top flat and I use it as a filing jig now. Now that we're most of the way done, we'll take it over to the sander and make sure the tang tapers down properly, then go back once more to finish it up with the filing jig. Now it's time for heat treating. Whenever I heat treat something, I try to only use charcoal because there are some impurities that can affect the blade in coke, but mainly because it's easier to make a larger fire that you can heat your blade up more evenly in. So, smoke goes out the window with the fan, goes outside, and comes back in with the wind. Perfect. So, because I don't have a good tank to quench in, I'll be using a rather large ammo can tilted at an angle so that the blade actually fits in there. Now, you really want to heat up your oil before quenching anything, especially in the winter, because the lower the viscosity, the faster the oil will move back into contact with the blade as bubbles form. But hanging that giant thing over the fire is just asking for a really big fiery oil spill, so we'll just heat the oil up one pan at a time. Now, the goal of heat treating is to get the entire blade heated above critical temperature as evenly as possible, at which point, when you quench it in oil or water, it will become hardened, making it capable of holding an edge, but also very brittle, meaning you have to reheat it, but to a much lower temperature, reducing the brittleness and increasing flexibility. Now, the point of quenching just the edge is to leave the body of the blade softer and able to absorb more shock, which reduces the chance of the blade breaking when you hit something. Now, what I'm saying here is that when you quench something, very often the oxides on the surface flake off in very large chunks, leaving bare white metal underneath, which didn't happen down the full length of the edge because it's somewhat difficult to heat up either end without overheating the middle, in which case it's better to have the very base of the edge that you won't use much be a little softer, instead of ruining the main body of the blade.
So it skates pretty well across most of its length, but down here it still is skating, but it's just not as hard. But then of course here it's still, actually it's not cutting in on the spine, but down here you can see me struggling to push it forward because it's actually biting in.
Does anyone smell anything smoky?
And it's always a good idea to put out the fire once you're done with it. Coke can't really burn without a constant flow of oxygen, but charcoal definitely will.
Alright, so while that's tempering, what we're going to do is we're going to work on the handle. So we've got some black walnut here, we've got some elk antler, and what we're going to use for the spacers is we're going to melt down some bronze. So we need some copper. The hell was that? Oh, how could I have forgotten? I already cast them 8 months ago? I don't know. I have brain damage. Let's get to work.
So we'll just quickly sand down the side and tops of the spacers, so then we can take them over to the mill and make sure they are perfectly flat.
Right, so we're done sanding this for the most part along the edges, but it has this beautiful natural pattern to the top of them from where it was still cast. And let me know in the comments. I think we should leave it on the top here for both the top and bottom spacers. Oh wait, actually, if I pickle this, then it will all be one uniform color. Either way, the oxides. No, forget leaving the comments. I'm going to do that regardless of what you say.
Now, it wouldn't be too difficult to get something this thin and round in a vise if I had the proper tools, which I don't. So I just clamped them onto a steel bar that can fit in the vise and moved the vice grips around so I could nail them all one little bit at a time. So here's that black walnut. We'll just use the antler as a reference for how wide we need to split this. And let me just say, I will never make fun of someone who looks awkward doing something in a video again. After learning how hard it is to move the camera so it sees the workpiece, move your body so it doesn't block the camera, and work in such a way that it all stays in frame. So now we'll flatten the two halves with a plane and then take the calipers, having measured the thinnest part of the tang before tempering. We'll roughly chisel out a slot in each of them and get it perfectly fit up tomorrow. Unfortunately, I couldn't use the audio for these clips, but there wasn't much there anyways. And that's it for today. If you guys liked the video, you can support me by buying from my Etsy shop. You can also follow me on Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to my Rumble because I'll be doing a giveaway there in a few weeks. So I'll see you tomorrow.